Hello, everyone. Welcome to the fourth installment of Student Government Success Looks Like Me series. Throughout this series, we'll be interviewing CU Denver alumni from diverse backgrounds in order to gain a better understanding of the unique challenges and experiences that these individuals have faced on their path to success. Today, we have Chris Meehleib. Chris, would you mind introducing yourself to the team?
Yeah, so I'm Chris Meehleib. I'm a graduate of CU Denver. I didn't spend all 4 years of college there, but I spent the majority of it there. I was a major in communication, minor in business, and I graduated in 2016. So, wow, 5 years ago already. Goes by
I know
fast.
time flies, right? Awesome. Well, we'll start with a bit of an icebreaker just to know a little bit more about you.
Okay.
So as a child growing up, what was your favorite family gathering or family experience?
My favorite one,
Mhm.
as of like if I had to choose one throughout my entire childhood, or
Unfortunately, you do only have to choose one.
okay. Let's see. Probably I think it was my grandparents' anniversary. It was their 50th anniversary. And just growing up, marriages don't last 50 years anymore. So that was, to me, that was really memorable and special for me, just to see two older people just kind of still happy 50 years later with, and being able to look at their entire family. We have a very big family. So um, being basically half Hispanic and half Asian, um, gigantic family. So it was just nice to see them happy, not only because they were happy with each other, but to see kind of their kids and their grandkids and how much they've kind of accumulated over the years. So that was really cool for me.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
So I want to dive into just identity in general, because
Okay.
success looks like me is as much about success as it is about identity. So what are your most salient identities?
That one, that one's again, one of those things where it's kind of hard to choose because it changes from time to time. Most salient, probably, like I said, Pacific Islander, Hispanic, Asian. I'm first generation. First generation. My parents immigrated here. I'm also the first generation college student, college graduate, and in a couple months I'll be first generation or only generation lawyer. So that's
Oh,
I'm also probably a musician as well. I come from a family of musicians. My entire family is really into music, but I've kind of followed their footsteps too. So that's part of my identity as well. I like to DJ on the side.
oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I also have a intense love of music, and it goes
So
back.
you get it.
I completely get it.
Uh,
So how have your identity shaped your experience both in your professional world and your academic experience?
um, so again, it kind of depends on the context and kind of the situation. It changes day by day, but probably most specifically in both my academic and my professional career. Just I think the one that I think about the most is just kind of being the first generation, just first generation in general, whether it's immigrant or college student, because it reminds me, my both my parents came here and without any education. So being grateful to be able to go to school, knowing that I need to just working hard has been part of those identities. Just knowing that I grateful for the opportunity, knowing that they sacrificed a lot to be able to put me in this position, and knowing that if I can continue to work hard, those parts of my identity will come out and help me through my journey, no matter where I'm at.
Well, I'm glad to hear that secure attachment to your identity has allowed you to continue along your path to success. But I also understand that being the first generation student and immigrant can be a lot of pressure on you.
Hmm.
How did you cope and deal with that pressure?
Um, that's a good question. Kind of with kind of honestly, even though the identity is part of the pressure, it also has helped me get through the pressure, knowing that if one, my family, not it's not that my family is necessarily counting on me, but in some ways they were, but also in other ways knowing that someone has to be the first, and if I can kind of pave the way for, make it through for myself, I can show the next generation or even people that are in my generation that are looking to do the same thing, that it can be done. It's not impossible. And if they could see someone else doing it, then they'll be able to do it too. Kind of like if everyone has that attitude, if they can do it, so can I. That's a mentality. And when people have that mentality, it makes things a lot easier. So that's kind of how I cope with it. And same thing for me, knowing that, okay, I'm the first generation, but I'm not the only first generation person that's ever done this before. So trying to compare myself and think of other people that have been in my shoes at one point. If same concept, if they made it, so can I. So just kind of continuing that cycle while also breaking another cycle, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And you completely hit the nail on the head on the reason that Success Looks Like Me was created, is just because that representation is important, and seeing yourself like, if they could do it, I could do it. And I love that phrase. So I want to talk about your accomplishments and the challenges that you faced reaching those accomplishments. So what are some major challenges that you faced in your professional and postgraduate life?
Professional and postgraduate life. I guess some of the major challenges for that would be kind of well, for me personally, one thing is especially in the areas that I've been in, both healthcare and eventually in tech, there's a lot of times being the only minority in the office or in the department was one challenge for me. And thankfully, there was never any negative connotation with that, but just sometimes you just feel a little bit out of place. But I felt like I was prepared for it because CU Denver, the communication program, had a lot of international students and had a very diverse undergraduate population. So just kind of learning how to get along with everybody, not just the people I'm used to seeing or being around, was kind of shaped through college. And I was able to lean on that and use that and kind of use that to my advantage, to where I can connect with more than one different type of people and more from all sorts of backgrounds and personalities, and kind of use that to leverage and create relationships to help me get to where I needed to go.
That's beautiful. And I think that's why so many students are drawn to CU Denver, is that diversity.
Right.
And yeah, I love that that's one of the things that you brought up. Because when we think of CU Denver students and CU Denver compared to the other schools in the CU system, we really do think about that diversity. So I appreciate you touching on that. So
yeah, it was something I definitely appreciated. So I'm glad it's still like that, if not more so.
How do you deal with work environments that aren't as diverse as your college experience?
Honestly, I tried to not even think about it, not let it bother me, because part of what needs, I think, makes it easier for not only for myself, but for anybody else that I'm working with. So let's say I'm in a department where I'm the only minority, then if I act like it doesn't bother me and I kind of just am open to be myself, or if I let it bother me, then I'm not myself. Let me kind of rephrase that. So if I let it bother me, then I'm not myself. So if I don't let it bother me, I'm able to be myself. And then then anyone else who might not be used to more diversity, or whether they are or not, doesn't really matter. But seeing the confidence that I have in myself kind of exuberates to the rest of the team and allows them to, be more open-minded, be more willing to be more open-minded, and just shows that that if it's not enough to bother me, then they won't even notice either, if that makes sense. It's kind of hard to put it into words, but kind of like leading by example, I guess. I've proven to them that I belong here, and anyone else that walks through that door belongs there as well. As long as we can do a good job and work hard, then that's all that really matters. And just making sure that I show that, so that if there's ever another minority, or even if they go into a company or a team that they're the only person that's not a minority, they don't have to. That's something that should be out of sight, out of mind, as long as they're able to contribute to the team.
Yeah, absolutely. And working at a team in diverse and not diverse environments is definitely a skill that is cultivated throughout a collegiate experience. You did say something about belonging and feeling like you belong. Have there ever been situations where you didn't feel like you belonged or didn't feel like you deserved the seat at the table? And if so, how did you deal with that feeling?
Yes. So I'm going to answer that question in a couple of ways, or in two pieces. So the first is I'll give an example of what I did was very first day of law school. We had to do an introductory discussion board, and I'm not good at talking about myself. So the discussion board, I was a little bit late to the party. So by the time I get there, I see a discussion board just kind of showing everyone in my class with huge amounts of accomplishments. They're good at talking about themselves and showing and putting into words what they've accomplished and how they got there. And so as I'm reading these descriptions and profiles, I'm thinking, wow, do I belong here? Am I cut out for this? Am I going to be, am I smart enough to be around these people? And then moving on to the next part of your question is how I was able to get past that was remembering how I got there. I might not have the exact same accomplishments as this person or the experience of this person, but I was brought, I made it here for a reason. And, everybody's path is different and everybody has a story, but that's what fosters a diverse and enriching experience, whether academically or professionally. Just that's the importance of diversity, is making sure that not everyone has the exact same background or experience or anything. And if I can bring my own fresh perspective to the table and make other people open their eyes to certain things, then that's what I'm here to do. And that's how I can prove I belong, by doing what I'm good at.
Awesome. And I love that you said that everyone's path to get somewhere is different. And we talked about this in the previous interviews, where we think about success as this very linear thing. And you have to hit these milestones or you're not being successful. And so I appreciate that you discussed that your path may have been different from other students, but that doesn't make you any less successful. So I really appreciate you bringing that up. And as we're talking about success, what has been a major success for you?
For me, major success has been working and while I was going to law school and working through college, having to juggle all that. I didn't have the opportunity to do just one. So being able to kind of build my career while also finishing school, I don't want to say on the side because I did them simultaneously, but that's been a major accomplishment for me, just because I was always told you can't do it. I remember freshman year, this wasn't a CU Denver, this was at a different school, but my freshman year, when my biology professor had found out I was working full time while still going to school, her words to me were, well, who do you think you are, Superman? And so that kind of gave me the motivation, it's doable. I mean, don't get me wrong, it sucks. If you don't have to work while you're going to school, don't do it. But for me, an accomplishment was being able to be able to handle both and be able to still find a way to graduate. I ended up graduating with honors, and just learning the time management skills that I've carried with me today.
Yeah, that's absolutely a huge accomplishment. And I think when you look at CU Denver students, there are a lot of students who are doing the same thing and working to put themselves through school. And that's very difficult, but what is the best part, or what is something that you've learned from that experience?
From working and going to school, or that, where there's a will, there's a way. There are times when I had to skip out on a class that I really wanted to take, but I wasn't able to take it because it didn't fit in my work schedule. Or, there were a lot of late nights. But it just, the best experience was, one, just making it through and proving to myself that I could do it. Two, showing other people that I can do it. And three, just like you said, there's CU Denver, at least when I was going, there was always a commuter school. So the relationships I made with other students, just knowing that they're going through the same thing and it's not just me. And there's a whole community of students that are doing both, was, like I said, really enriching and very eye-opening for me. And it was a great experience.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you just talking about your successes with us. But I wanted to know how you define success. And in defining success, has that definition changed over time?
How I would think it has changed over time. Right now, my definition of success is probably the difference different than what it would have been when I was still in college. For me, success is accomplishing goals. Um, not everyone has the same. Just not everyone has the same goals. Just like not everyone has the same path to success. So, for example, um, to get to campus, I could take the side streets or I could take the highway. Either way, I'm getting to where I want to go, which is campus or somewhere downtown. And if that's the goal I set out when I got in my car to get there, then I accomplished that. So success is, you know, putting down a goal, working towards it, and accomplishing it. Whether it be starting up your own business, getting a degree, getting a job, making money. Everyone's definition is going to be different, and everyone's path is going to be different. So that's my definition now, and it definitely has changed. You know, when I was younger, it was like, okay, I just need to get a good job, or I need to make people proud of me, or all sorts of throughout the years that definition has evolved and changed over time. But currently, as it stands, the way I would define it would be just kind of accomplishing a goal and accomplishing what you're setting out to do,
I like
and
that
being
you said
happy with
that.
it.
Oh, sorry. Oh, yes, and being happy with it. Especially just being happy with where you are in life. And I think we talk about achieving goals and like the path to success, and that path changes so often. And I appreciate that you touched on that, because when people deter from the path, like I know for myself, I had to take a year off because I just couldn't afford to continue going to school. That deterred me from what I thought the path to success was and the path to accomplishing my goal was, but I'm still here.
Right.
And I think that's a really important thing that you said, is as long as you accomplish the goal, it doesn't matter how you got there.
And it's all about the journey too. Life's the journey. The path is success of the journey. You can enjoy, if you enjoy the journey, it makes it that much more worth it when you get to the end.
Perfect. Well, we are officially out of time, but I really appreciate you taking the time to be interviewed by the Success Looks Like Me team for the sake of the CU Denver students. So I appreciate your time, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, you too. Thank you guys. I appreciate your guys' time, all of you. Thank you so much. If there's anything that you guys need, feel free to reach out. I'm always here to help other students. So